I feel nostalgic a lot, and I'm often thinking about the past, and it's usually something positive. I'm just remembering good times from the past, just particular moments. Maybe I'm driving down a certain road and I'm just remembering other times I've driven down there, what I was listening to at the time, maybe like what music I was listening to, or if I listened to an audiobook, something like that. Or, a certain point in life where I had a certain job and I was watching some certain TV show every day, like after work, and just remembering that fondly. Just the fun of going through a TV show straight through, and just that kind of era of life that was going on. So it's always with kind of good intentions, I guess. Intention feels like too strong of a word, but just thinking of anything nostalgic, really just any positive thing from the past. And sometimes you can just kind of remember it and appreciate it, and then also just keep on appreciating what's going on currently in your life. But you can also kind of fall into a trap with it, where you, at least this is what I end up doing sometimes, when you don't really feel anything, or you're feeling bad or anything like that, and you just want to feel something, or you want to feel better, you want to not feel so numb, just kind of like have a better feeling like you might have at a certain point in the past. I'm sure everybody feels like that sometimes, or maybe even a lot of the time. I don't like how I'm feeling right now. Maybe I'm feeling nothing right now, just completely numb. And I'm thinking about some certain time or some, era of the past, a memory or collection of memories of a time that I, felt a certain way. It doesn't even have to be good necessarily. Just like I just, remember this feeling of this certain point in life, and taking that and then trying to recreate it. So instead of just going, saying I'm feeling bad or I'm feeling numb, I'm going to just like sit with this and experience it, because that is what I'm feeling right now. And, I can kind of like move through it, get past that, and then it's almost like a blockage, just an emotional blockage or whatever you want to call it. Once you can kind of like feel and experience that, you can move on and kind of open yourself up for other feelings and experiences to come in. But you can also try and go back to the past and recreate certain moments from that, or at least trying to get the feeling of those moments back. And I'll do this sometimes, and I used to do it a lot more often. I don't do it as much anymore, but still, sometimes I do. I'll be feeling bad, and I'll think, kind of going back to what I was talking about at the beginning of this video. This has happened before. I'll drive, a certain route home from wherever I am, and it will be the same route that I used to take at some previous job. And I'll remember, I didn't really like this other job that I had, but during, for maybe a month or so during this, I would come home from this job most days, and I was just rewatching through Adventure Time, and for the fifth or sixth time. It's not even like the first time I've seen this, but I just remember the kind of the feeling of relief, and just like not even a positive feeling necessarily, but just at a time that, I didn't really like my job. I didn't like a lot of, just kind of general things going on with my life. This was just a nice little thing that I was doing. It was just a regular event. I would do this every day or most days. Just kind of like escape from, what was bothering me about my life for a little while. And so I look back in those moments and I remember them fondly. I'm not really thinking about like how bad I felt at that job or, any other parts of that. I was just purely just I remember this is my route home from work. And then I would go home and I would make food and, I would watch this. And, that was a really enjoyable experience. And, sometimes if I'm feeling bad or if I'm feeling numb, I'll come and I pass by that same road and I'll just think back to that time and just think, that was a bad time, but I remember it fondly because I was doing this thing. And I'll start thinking about the thing, whether it was watching that show or, whatever else it was. It's always just some specific thing I was doing or watching or listening to, a game I was playing, book I was reading. Maybe like someone on YouTube I was regularly watching or anything like that. And I kind of want to go back to that, but not in a healthy way. Not in a way that, you can be reminded of something from the past and then kind of like reignite an interest in that and just think, oh, I want to go check this out again. I remember being into this. I haven't thought about this in a while. I want to go look this person up or, maybe pick that book up again, watch an episode of this show or whatever it is. I think that's a pretty healthy way to engage with nostalgia. But when you're doing it, as I have a lot with the intention to try and recreate a feeling that I had back then, it always just feels very hollow. And, sometimes I'll do it. I'll kind of, recreate that situation or some version of it. Like I might remember, a time that I was home alone for a night and there was some movie I watched, and before that I went out to this store because I had to buy something, and then after that I picked up food from this restaurant and then came back, watched the movie, and it was just like it was a good time just being by myself, just running some errands and just like making a nice night of it. Something like that. And then sometimes I'll just like go and try and recreate that because I'll remember, just thinking I would like to have another good night like that. That was a nice time. I'm maybe feeling kind of bad or kind of neutral or, I'm just kind of seeking another feeling. I can just recreate this and I'll go, and I don't mean like exactly relive the experience, might not even be the same movie, but maybe like that type of movie. And I don't have to buy anything from that store, but I still want to be out of the house. So maybe I'll go to that store or a different store and wander around, and then I'll pick up food, maybe from that same restaurant, maybe somewhere else. But in some way, I'll kind of recreate the experience. So I'm not just doing this naturally. I'm doing this, I'm kind of like following the pattern that I had done before. Although in that moment before, that was natural. I was just doing stuff. Later on, when I'm seeking that same feeling, I will, to some degree, follow the blueprints of that day or of that, time period or event. And I'll do that, and it'll be kind of nice because I'll kind of reconnect with that moment that was a nice memory of before, and that's kind of nice to reconnect with that stuff. And I'll go wander around the store. It's nice to be out of the house. I'll pick up the food, go back, watch the movie, or whatever it is. And, I usually enjoy it to some degree. It's not like I just feel miserable the whole time. It's still nice. But because I am not having a new kind of authentic experience, I'm kind of recreating something from the past. It's always just a lot more, not even a lot more, but it's a little bit more hollow. The feeling isn't as strong as the first time. That's why I remember those first times so fondly, is because I just did have a strong feeling of whatever that was, good, bad, or sad, maybe just like melancholy, maybe feeling inspired, maybe just feeling like very present and slow, and like I don't have anything to do, and like I can just kind of like exist for a day without feeling like I need to do anything. Any kind of feeling, emotion, or like a sense like that. And usually I'll recreate these moments, and I'll get some kind of lesser form of that, whatever that feeling is. It's never as strong as when I first had it, because that was a authentic experience. I wasn't trying to do that. Those feelings or whatever came up authentically in the moment. So of course, if I try to recreate it, it's not going to be the same. It can be similar, and that's nice sometimes. When I just want something familiar, and I remember a familiar time from the past that I felt a certain way, and I kind of want to get back into that headspace. You kind of recreate the scene, kind of get back into that zone. But part of it does just feel a little bit inauthentic. Like something's missing from it, because I'm not really experiencing it the right way. But it can be kind of a trap, kind of a crutch, really, where, sometimes I just feel kind of aimless or whatever. And, I have, I guess you could say, two options in regards to this. I can, maybe reconnect with some moment from the past and have a similar but more hollow version of that, or I can just do something different. Do literally anything else that I'm not trying to recreate the past. So those are the two options. And I think just the familiarity of one versus the other is what draws me to it sometimes. Knowing that I can have a similar experience to this thing that I've already experienced. So I kind of know how that's going to go, versus I can have a new experience, which could be better, more strong, real feelings, a more real experience. It could also just be worse, and I could just still feel kind of empty, or feel even worse. Maybe go down a downward spiral, because if I'm already feeling kind of bad, maybe it'll get worse. I don't know, because I'm not chasing something from the past. I'm living presently. So that could definitely be worse. It could be neutral, it could be better. I just don't know, because it hasn't happened yet. But I do think that's the much healthier option in general, is to while appreciating past moments, nice things that have happened, and maybe just taking inspiration from them and, you know, remembering good elements of those and seeing if maybe there's ways you could incorporate that with new things into your life. I think that's healthy. And then also just trying to live presently. You know, not trying to, it's like, you know, looking at a picture from your childhood or something and kind of like wanting to go back to that. You know, this picture isn't really an accurate representation of your whole childhood, of course. It's just a picture. So you can kind of remember things fondly, but you can't really go back. But you can remember things that you liked about, you know, childhood in this example, whatever this picture is of in the past. And I can remember, you know, oh, it was nice when I was a kid, and you know, it was kind of like in the early days of the internet. I wasn't like online very much. I was outside a lot more. You know, I had a creek outside of where I lived. So I used to just go, you know, play in the creek, be outside, you know, walk to my friend's house in the neighborhood, just that kind of stuff. So I can take all of that, all those positive aspects of childhood or of the past, and just find ways that I can kind of incorporate that into my current life. Which, you know, those kinds of things I definitely could. I could go to a creek now. I can drive to a creek. I don't even have to be near one. You know, but you can just find healthy ways to incorporate that stuff to your current life. I don't think it's very healthy to exactly just try and recreate stuff. But you can just look back and take elements from it, you know, take things that you enjoyed from the past and, you know, just incorporate that into your regular life. I think that's a good way to really appreciate the past and kind of like appreciate the value of what you've already experienced and be able to take things, get something out of what you've experienced, and kind of like using that to enhance your current life.